Oh yes, Michelle. Thank you, Michelle, for reminding me. Uh, in one of the questions Michelle gave me on the email, she asked if you could uh, take the negative approach. For example, one of the precepts of St. Thomas Aquinas is uh, life, self-preservation. And if Martin Luther King Jr. Talks about murders, lynchings, things that are unjust, can you approach it with a negative answer saying that when he talks about not being treated as equals, is that not an example of legal justice? And yes, Michelle had a great idea. You can approach it also as the justice, love, or humility is missing. It's something that I do with the grade nines, the Beatitudes. And Michelle gave me a good idea, and thank you for reminding me to tell the classroom, the CPT. You can approach it from the negative. This is not, there's no justice here, no humility here, there is no love here. Okay, so I hope that helps out. So absolutely a really good idea, Michelle. Thank you. Okay, first let's have uh, can we use the idea of the Bible teaching in course? Yes, Louisa, for example, Gospel of Matthew and the Sermon on the Mount, and we did a couple of charts, Sermon on the Mount, and also this PowerPoint presentation on Evangelium Vitae, or Choose Life. All those have really good examples of humility, justice, and love. So those are things that we found, especially the Gospel of Matthew, and also Jesus' Sermon on the Mount, which includes things like the Beatitudes: do not kill, do not brag, do it quietly, peacefully, don't commit adultery, things like that. So be salt of the earth, the light of the world. So any of those are good as well. Okay. Azine, okay, if you are going to quote something I want to work on tomorrow in terms of sourcing, but since you asked, if you're going to quote direct quotation with quotation marks, then there's a source, a footnote or endnote. Now, if you take the idea and instead, rather than put it in quotation marks, but you paraphrase it, uh, which means writing your own words, it's still not your ideas. You've taken somebody else's idea, written in such a way that you may think that it's yours, but everyone knows it's not, based on the source. So if you paraphrase something, then at the end of the sentence, put a source, a footnote, and endnote. And what you're telling the reader is this is not an exact quotation, but the idea is similar, and a lot of it is identical to the person that you're sourcing. But you're not going to put it in a quotation mark. You're choosing to paraphrase it. But you're still giving credit to where credit is deserved, and that's the person who originated the idea. Okay, so I'll give you an example. Jesus and Immanuel Kant says, love your neighbor, or do not do to others what you do not want done to you. I could paraphrase that like my grandfather used to always tell us. It's also found in the movie Fiddler on the Roof. Do not spit in the air, because that might come back in your face. Or if you point at someone, one finger is pointing at the other, but three fingers are pointing at yourself. Now that's another way of saying it. And now if you know who actually coined the phrase, by all means you quote them. If you don't, then you sort of say as inspired by Jesus or Immanuel Kant. Okay, so what about quoting from the Bible? Same thing. If you're using the Bible, if you're actually quoting from the Bible, and we've used things from Matthew and other places like Cain and Abel, a whole bunch of other references, you have to give me the uh, version of the Bible. So it might be, for example, New Jerusalem Bible or the Good News Bible. So we know what translation you're using. And then you have to give me the book it comes from, let's say Exodus, and then what chapter and verse. So Exodus 20 is the Ten Commandments. So if you take something from the Ten Commandments, you'd probably be quoting Exodus 20, and I'm not sure what paragraphs and lines, but then you'd have to tell me which Bible you use. If it's an online version of the Bible, then you have to give me the online website where the Bible could be found. Okay. So hold on to your CPT questions right now for a while. And let's see if there's any questions about, let me just get my assignment here somewhere. I have, give me a second. I seem to have, it seems to have gone somewhere. No problem. I have my own copy here. Okay. Are there any questions about the avatar assignment that you'd like me to go through for the next 5-10 minutes? Azina, I'll come back to your question in a second. Okay, let's work on the avatar first. Okay, please remember that it is due on Friday. Yeah, thank you, Azine. It's avatar due on Friday. If you need more time. Okay. So if you do, so put down here, where are we here? Try again. Yep. Avatar due on Friday. It's not right now, so we're clear. Please try to get it done Friday. That would clear up your weekend for your CPT. If you do need more time, please go ahead. Take more time, but then you're sort of piling it up next week. I'm not giving you much work to do. Even the assignment for today, I'd like you to work on it during class time, but I have to go through it and explain that for you. Any other questions? Let's see. Okay, go back to Azine, quoting from the letter from an encyclical. That's the Pope's encyclicals or letters, and you quote from the encyclical. If you are going to use PowerPoint presentations to reference, tomorrow we'll spend time on more on sourcing. I'll give you some examples. And you'd have to say, for example, Aristotle, Nicomachean Ethics, Mr. Kara's PowerPoint presentation, and then the date of my presentation. If you're using the package, then you simply reference it as Aristotle, Nicomachean Ethics, and then right now you don't have to put Mr. Kara's package. Just if there's a source there, now you won't be able to tell me where internet source is or where I got it from because I didn't share that with you. But if it's a PowerPoint presentation, you have to reference that is found in, say, PowerPoint on justice, presented on, let's say, October 5th. Okay. Michelle, question number 4. Is this from the CP, the Avatar? So it says Colonel Qualtridge and suffrage mining on the Britannium and obsession with the wealth is inconsistent with the principles of participation and subsidiarities. So what you have to do with that with Michelle, and if anyone else wants to do that, is look at what participation and subsidiary is in the charts I gave you. So I'll pull it out so I can read from here. Give me a second while I pull it out. Okay, participation. So let's go through that. I'm hoping that's what Azine asked. Okay. Um, no, Michelle asked. So let's take a look at this. Participation. All people have the right to participate in economic, political, and cultural life of society. So in this case, it would have to do with um, the Navi people having a say in their lives, their political, economic, social, the way of living. And that occurs through representation and through government. It is a fundamental demand of justice and a requirement of human dignity that all people be assured a minimum level of participation in the community. So they have to have a say in what goes on. In this case, the colonel and the business person, Qualtridge and name is Selfridge, they feel that they're superior. They have these really awful names for Navi people, almost some of them are derogatory, having to do with certain species you would find in the jungle or in the zoo. The way of life's primitives, they're often called savages. These are all stereotypes that are demeaning and disrespectful of the Navi people. And therefore, they don't think that they're very intelligent, should have a say in what goes on in the world. So they just come in and take what they want. I mean, that's the whole point of Jake's speech, is they come and think they can take everything and not even ask us. The people have a right to determine themselves, to determine their lives, and have a say in how things are developed and how they operate. Conversely, it is wrong for a person or a group to be excluded unfairly or to be unable to participate in society. In other words, the ultimate injustice is for a person or group to be treated actively or abandoned passively as if they were non-members of the human race. So in this case, Navi people don't count. The mineral is important. They're going to get the mineral. And if they have to destroy the Navi culture and Navi environment, if they have to destroy what is sacred to them, they can go ahead and do that. To treat people this way is effectively to say they simply do not count as human beings. So that's participation. And subsidiarity has to do with, on the other side, under role of government, according to the principle of subsidiarity, the functions of government should be performed at the lowest level possible as long as they can be performed adequately. So what that means is that they should have a say in what happens. So with some type of leadership, as the Navi people have, where people have a right to speak. As Jake Saleh became a Navi person, he had the right to speak in front of everyone, and everyone must listen to them. They don't have to agree with him, but they have to listen. So everyone has a right to speak and to contribute to it. That's just subsidiarity. Okay. This one here that Michelle's pointed out, number 4, is a bit tricky. So you might want to be careful with this one here. But basically, what I'm asking here is, are they running over the rights of Navi people to self-determination, to determine their lives and what happens in society? Let's see what else we have here. Okay. So Zilan, are we going to define the principle first and explain how it connects to the movie, like what we did on the test? Yes, Zilan, you get the right idea. And same thing, you're doing the same thing with the CPT. You have a couple of handouts in your package, and I also gave you a copy of it. Use whatever part of that you want to use as the idea or the definition of the idea. Again, you don't have to quote it from the document. You just put in your own words. And for your movie assignment, you don't have to reference anything. CPT you do, but not for your movie assignment. And then you describe the event in the movie. So, for example, if you're going to do the idea of peace, Obviously, the conflict at the end is not peaceful. They're destroying the home tree, and they want to destroy the tree of life as well. So that's a conflict. There's no justice there, no love, nothing. So you could write the war that is occurring between the Sky people and the Navi people in one sentence or two sentences, and that is sufficient for your example from the movie. So explain what's happening by destroying the home team and wanting to destroy tree of life. And then the third sentence is always link the two together. So how does the example you chose show the idea of Catholic social teaching? It's a good question. James, you're not citing anything now in the avatar. Now, I always get to mix up, James, so you're probably going to correct me and teach me. But I believe that what I've asked you to do with endnotes and footnotes and a bibliography is Chicago. But I gave you an attachment with two handouts. And I'll explain further tomorrow where I give you specific examples of sources and how to do the bibliography. So that's for tomorrow's class. Hey, James, but good question. I think it's Chicago. I always get MLA, APA, I'll mix up it. End notes, footnotes, and the bibliography. I don't want you to embed it into the text. And that's what English teachers love to do. And the reason why I don't like that is because as a writer, for you, it destroys the flow of your answer because you have all this interruption in the essay. Whereas if you just locate it with a number like 1 or 5 or 8, that can go down to the bottom of the page, the foot of the page, or at the end of your assignment, which then becomes your end note. And then not only can you write where you got it, but often as you develop your ideas of writing, especially when you get to university, you'll be writing a lot of ideas in there. So it might be, for example, go back to Aristotle, taken from Aristotle, Nicomachean Ethics, as found in so-and-so's textbook. So you may have to have two sources in there, especially if it's an article or a fragment into a bigger source. So that's where you get to develop. If you put that all onto your essay at the top, it might take 1 or 2 lines, and again, destroys the flow for you writing it and for myself or anyone who's reading it. Okay? So James, tomorrow we're going to spend some time on different ways of how to source articles, internet articles, Bible, and how to write a bibliography. Azina Martigula, you can or you don't have to, but same idea here. Okay, if you actually quote it and you put quotation marks, if you paraphrase it or summarize it, you still should source it, saying that what came in this sentence before the period, it comes from so-and-so. So you're giving credit to it. Okay, say, for sourcing your slides, can I source like this from Mr. Caro? Yeah, you don't, from Mr. Caro's underline natural law or 13.0 natural law, then write down PowerPoint presentation. For the presentation dates, you'd have to go to your emails. Mrs. Buckley said you should put the date on it when it was presented. And on your emails, when I invite you to a Google Meet class, I usually give you what we're going to do today, and I've attached for you whatever PowerPoint presentation, so that will be the date. Okay, say? Yes, footnotes. Another word for footnoting is source. What is the source of the idea? What is the source of the quotation? So sourcing and footnoting is the same idea. Okay, Ben? Again, CPT, Azina, hold on to your CPT until tomorrow. I'm going to spend time on CPT as well as any other questions on Avatar, but I want to cover, but should refer to Micah's sentence in each. It depends on how you write it and how you introduce it. You can put either footnotes or endnotes. Okay, it says telling Ben. Yeah, you have a choice. Footnotes means at the foot of the page. Endnotes means at the end of your assignment. Now, personally for me, as I explained to you, I did endnotes because I used what's called a brother typewriter. And so we had to type everything in. If you ran out of room at the bottom of the page to put in your footnote, you had to retype the whole page. Now you just word process on your computer. Okay? And then I think that's the stand QTY. I'm learning some new jargon here. Again, Louisa, it's I believe it's Chicago, and it's a formal essay, but you can use informal language or personal language like the word I in your thesis. Look at that attachment I gave you with footnotes and bibliography. And I'll go over Louisa tomorrow in class. And what I'll do is tonight I'm going to type in, for example, an article from the package, our textbook, whether you use the hard copy or the internet one, how to source or footnote or endnote computer things. It's a bit easier because you simply copy and paste the site. Yes, I see. Again, when you're paraphrasing or quoting, if you're taking Martin Luther King Jr.'s letter, then you have to tell me what page of the letter. I think there's about 11 pages. So you have to help the person who's reading it locate to verify your work. So if Martin Luther King Jr. says this on page 6, I should be able to go page 6 and find it. Okay, that gives credibility to your sourcing and your noting. Okay. Let's see if I missed anybody right now. Any questions about Avatar? Last chance. Michelle, can we refer to Martin Luther King Jr. as King after we reference his full name once? In your footnote and endnote, yes, you can. You don't have to put the whole name. Same thing if you have a group yeah, you can, after your first source, you don't have to put in the whole amount, the whole name and the letter from Birmingham jail. You can simply say King, or you can also say King and then letter, abbreviated form, and make sure you underline or put quotation marks the letter if it's going to be a document. But after the first one, absolutely, you're free to make it easier. Okay, any other questions? Okay, good questions. You guys are thinking and preparing this. I'm happy to hear that. Okay, if you could all do me a favor and please take out, or if you, the package on principal double effect. We had done a story last week about two men in a bed, in a house, two men in a hospital room, two men in a bed in a hospital room. Okay, so if you recall, one of them was near the window and the other one was on the other side. And the one away from the window wanted to know what was going on outside. He's curious. The one next to the window told him all kinds of fabulous little stories. And then one day, he tragically passed away. And the man on the other side wanted to get close to the window to observe everything that was described to him. So when he got there, he found that the person was only looking at an empty wall. So the question I gave you for your journal was, did the man near the window lie? And your journals were amazing. Thank you very much. And the reason why I bring this story in is to introduce the idea of principle of double effect. Sometimes in life and situations you find yourself in, you will have two effects of each action. There would be a good effect of the action towards another person, and there would be a bad effect. And is it justifiable to do the action if there's two effects? And so this brings us into thinking about what's called the principle of double effect. Now, what I've done is I've gone through your attendance, Google attendance, which is alphabetical order by first names, and I placed a number, a number in front of your name. If you go down that list, you are grouped with anybody else. So if you're number one, then everyone who's number one will be in one group. So what I'd like you to do is spend some time in class so you don't have any homework and go through your situation. And the situation, is in your package. And the first one talks about, let me just get the whole thing here, 1 second. So there's a chart called Principle of Double Effect. So tomorrow we're going to present all 9 situations. And I'm going to ask you to present to class. So what I'd like you to do is one person will read the situation. So the first one is in the chart, it says a woman stabs and kills a rapist who was threatening her. On the previous sheet, the whole story is a woman is attacked by a man who intends to rape her. She reaches in her purse and finds a knife. She stabs him and he dies while on the way to the hospital. So the effect of stabbing the man who's going to rape her does 2 things. The good effect is she's not raped and she's alive. The bad effect is that this person is either injured or he may be injured seriously and die. So is this justified? So what it asks you in the top of the chart, it says, indicate whether the following actions are justified by the principle of double effect by writing justified or unjustified in the blank provided. Be sure to be able to explain your reason for writing unjustified. So what I'm going to ask you to do is go to the chart that I've given you and take a look at the chart, look at the headings on top. So if you're group number 1, I want you to fill in the chart and be prepared to present it to class by simply explaining what is happening. Okay. I'm not sure which question you're talking about, social justice, Ben. So please wait until we finish doing this section here, and then I'll take any other questions you may have. Okay. So what I want you to do is, the first idea, and this is for everyone, so I'll start with this one here just to guide them because they're number 1, I guess. So let me see if I get my thing going here. So you have to, in order for an act to be justified, all 4 principles, again, this is from St. Thomas Aquinas. We saw this before on law. And St. Thomas Aquinas says, for the action to be justified, it must meet all 4 criteria. So number 1, so justified, I'm going to type it up. All 4 criteria must be there. Must be there. So tomorrow, there's, I think, about 3 people per group, so you can divide it up who's going to present. And I like everybody to present, and no one's going to laugh. You're amongst friends. Anybody that does, I will get them, because don't worry, I'll protect you guys. And what I want you to do is be able to answer those questions. So first one is, say, hold on a second, I'll go over it. The first idea is, was the action good or indifferent? Oh, you have to go back to our lessons on moral object, intention, and circumstance. The action we're talking about here is the moral object. Okay. In this case here, what the woman does is she takes a knife and she pokes it at the person. That's the action. Okay. Now, is that a good action or a bad action or indifferent, or sometimes we say neutral? Okay. It's neither good nor bad.
Sir, are you
Yeah.
presenting right now?
Yeah.
You're not presenting anything to us.
I'm not presenting, so I'm just talking.
Oh, okay, my bad.
So what I'm doing is I'm going through the chart. I've asked, thanks for asking. I'm going through the chart. I've asked everybody to either open, take it out from your package. And each group, and you're numbered 1 to 9, there's 9 groups, is going to present one group. So I'm just going through the 4 characteristics that you have to think of when you're answering it. And in the space provided, and say, ask about Google Doc and share it with a group. Absolutely, do it any way you want, say. And you can each take one of them to present to the class. I'm trying something different. A lot of teachers do this, and I haven't done this quadmester. But this is the way my class would have functioned. I would have broken you up in 9 groups in class. I would have given you chart paper and colored markers, asked you to come up with these 4 criteria and see if they fit. Then I'd ask you to present to class, and while you're presenting to class, everybody else is learning from you. So you become the teacher and we all become the students. So you help us. So the homework assignment will be done collaboratively, and we will help each other. I see this is what I'm going through right now. I'm going through all the sections. If everyone can just hold off until I go through all 4, and then we'll take up any questions after, okay? So with your group members, prepare answers for only your presentation. So if you're number 1, you only do number 1, which is a woman who's about to be raped. If you're group number 2, you're doing President Truman dropping the atomic bomb on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. If you're number 3, you're doing the SWAT person shooting a hostage taker. If you're group number 4, you're dealing with a country that sacrifices a child for unjust policies of the country. If you're number 5, you're doing the abortion. If you're number 6, you're doing a woman who was raped, has an abortion. And for this one here, pay attention to what Pam Steinsel said in her video, Sex Has a Price Tag. Number 7, a child of a woman with cancer dies after she has chemotherapy. And number 8, a person throws a steak knife at a psychiatric patient, threatening the family with an axe. And number 9, a person shoots a sleeping psychiatric patient who has an axe in his hand. So 1 to 9, that's your group. So the first thing you have to do is try to figure out whether the action is good or is indifferent. Indifferent means neutral. Okay, so I'll write down here. There are certain actions that are not ethical, they're neutral. Does not play a role in having an ethical or moral effect on others. Now, there are actions that are not good. These are bad actions. Okay, killing someone is a bad action. In fact, Aquinas says it's intrinsically evil. Okay, the second point. Okay, number 2. Second point is evil effect must be intended. Going back to our assignment on moral object, intention, and circumstances, is the bad effect, the evil effect, what is intended? Did the person in the hospital room intend to lie to the person on the other side of the hospital room? Was that his intention, or was he simply describing what he imagined he saw out there. Because when we speak and we speak using language, a lot of what we say is not true, but only in our imagination. So therefore, we say it's true in my own imagination. Therefore, we make it true. We always embellish it. We add facts. We sort of exaggerate, make it more interesting. But that's what imagination is. That's what communication is. Now you could five people can see the same thing, and they will say they saw different things. Um, I used to do that when I used to teach high school law, and I had a class where I showed a video of somebody robbing a bank, and you were a teller. So I'd ask the students after the video is shown of somebody robbing the bank teller, please describe the criminal, like how tall was he, what was he wearing, etc. And all the students came up with different things because they see things differently, they remember things differently, and then they put in their own fears and biases as well. But the question is asking here is the evil effect. Remember, there's two effects: a good effect and an evil effect. Is the bad effect or the evil effect? Is this what they intended? Is this what was in their will? Okay. Third one is that the good effect okay, I'm going to change it, must come from the action. Okay, so the third idea here is whatever good comes out of the situation must come from the action, not from the evil effect. Because then if you're doing that, then you're doing evil to achieve good. Okay, you cannot do evil to achieve good. Okay, so you have to look at the situation. Is the good effect, does it result from the action itself or from the evil effect? Okay. And according to Thomas Aquinas, it must come from the action. You cannot do evil to achieve good. Okay. Number 4. Okay, this is a tricky one because the two effects, it's the good effect that you want. And it has to be a greater good effect and a smaller bad effect. So if you were to balance the two, it must tip towards the good effect. Okay, so balance two effects towards good effect. It means that the bad effect is tolerated because the good effect is greater. Okay. So if you could put the good effect and the bad effect, you want the good effect, and the good effect is greater, or we say sometimes more proportional or more commensurate than the evil effect. Okay. If you want to get in good physical shape and you want to go for a run, the running produces two effects. The good effect is a healthier body, more toned body, more physically fit. The bad effect is aches and pains the next day or after you run. So the aches and pains are real. That's the bad effect. But the good effect of a healthy body and a healthy life is greater. Therefore, you're willing to tolerate aches and pains until you get into physical shape in order to achieve physical shape and health. Ben, you lost the whole package. It was in a folder I gave you. Okay. Okay, so hold on a second. So first of all, before I take any more questions, let me review all the principles. Number one, so you have all four criteria have to be found in the case. If any of them is missing, then the action is not justified. So let me repeat that. All four criteria, action is justified. Three criteria, it's unjustified. Two unjustified, one unjustified. So if any of the four criteria is missing or does not follow, then the action is justified. So let me go through them one more time. So you have to ask yourself in your case that you're going to present tomorrow, is the action good or is it bad or is it morally different? If it's good or a morally indifferent action, then so far so good. If it's a bad action, already you know that the action is not going to be justified, according to Sir Thomas Aquinas and the principle of double effect. You still have to complete the chart. So in order to explain why it's justified or not justified, it has to be a complete explanation. So you'd have to go through all four. The second one, is the evil effect intended or not? Is this what you want to do? In the story in the hospital, did the person telling the story intend to lie and deceive and break the trust of the other person? Take advantage of his position at the window and brag to make him feel that he was jealous, that he could see anything and you're on the other side and you can't. It's like going on an airplane and getting the window seat as opposed to getting the center seat. If you have the window seat, you got a nice view. If you fight to get the window seat and you find that you're above the wing of the plane, then what's the point? All you're seeing is the wing. Okay. So second principle is the evil effect must not be intended. If it is intended, it's not justified. And if it is intended, you can't justify the action. If it's not intended, it's not what you wanted to happen, then so far so good, you're still justified. The third one, the good effect must proceed from the action, not from the evil effect. You cannot do evil to achieve good, says St. Thomas Aquinas. You can only do good to achieve good. The second one is actually the other side of this coin. Evil effect must not be intended means that you're doing good to achieve an evil. Okay. So, fourth criteria, the good effect must be sufficiently desirable to compensate for the allowing of the evil effect. So balancing the good effect and the bad effect, the good effect must be greater, bigger, more important, more valuable, and you should be able to tolerate the evil effect, which is not as a greater effect as the good effect. So if you're going to put them in balance, must be more good effect coming out of it, and you're willing to tolerate the evil effect. Okay, so the good of giving the other patient hope is more important than him discovering at a later time that none of it was true, other than in the imagination, in the mind of the patient near the window. Okay, so let's see if there's any questions now. 1, 2, 3, 4. So Ben, we'll have to deal with that. As a group, we're supposed to fill out the chart and present it tomorrow. Yes. So Amy, so what you do is with your group members, you work together and you complete the chart and then decide amongst you how you're going to present it to the class. And you don't have to do any Google image or anything like that. All I want you to do is when it's your turn to present, you come to the class, you present to the class, and we hear you. We keep your videos off. The images are not necessary. but your voice will be there. And then basically you have each of the 4 criteria. So start with telling the story, and then go through number 1, action's good or is bad or more different. And then number 2, evil effect. Number 3, good effect. And number 4, the balance of the 2. So you present each one of those. Now, while you're presenting, everybody's done their own presentation, so they're going to listen to you, and they're going to start filling it all out. So we're going to do it together as a class. We're going to get the answer right, because if the answer is presented in a wrong way or there's other possibilities, we're going to talk about it. But at the end of the presentations, everyone's going to have all the right answers, and everyone's going to have done the chart. So it's just a matter of you scan it to me, and then everybody will get 9 out of 9. Okay? So Amy, you okay with that so far? Go through one at a time. So Louisa, it is like a concept of interior action and exterior action. This is going to be just a cause and effect, Louisa. So the action and then the effect of the action. So every action you take in this principle has 2 effects. There's going to be a good effect and a bad effect. So the person in the hospital, the good effect is he gave the other patient hope, inspiration, imagination, because of the stories he told. The bad effect is when he passed away and he moved to the window, all he saw was a brick wall. So he felt deceived until the nurse said, well, he was blind. And blind people see differently than people who see. And people who see differently than blind people. Okay, you can be blind and see, you can be see and blind. Okay, so Louisa, it's the action, what the person did. It's like a moral object. Okay, I'll type it in for you. So action, go back to it, it's like the moral object. And then the if, effect is what happens to the other person. And then intention is what is in your mind. And the question here is why? Okay, Louisa. So let's go back here. Azid, how many people are in a group? If you look at the sheet I gave you, I've numbered you from 1 to 9. We have 32 students. So 9 group, there'll be some groups with 3, that's 27, and 4 groups with 3, and I believe 5 groups with 4. And just talk amongst yourself and decide how you're going to present. All I want each of you to do is present something. Okay. And don't worry about presenting, because you're amongst friends, and having gone through this whole course of morality, everyone's going to be respectful to you. Patrick, we are only meant to present our section on the chart, right? So if we're group 7, we only do the 7th column. Yes. So if you're group 7, you're doing with a person who has cancer. Say women undergoes chemotherapy in order to treat her cancer of the prostate. She is told that it will unlikely have very adverse side effects on her baby. The baby dies after a week of chemo. Okay. So if you're group number 7, you only do number 7. And then listen and wait for the other groups to present, and participate if you want to, and agreeing or disagreeing with their presentation. So I don't want you to do any homework. I mean, if you want to do them, by all means. But you can do it tomorrow in class with the help of all the other groups. Okay, Patrick? 7th row. Sorry, 7th row. Oh, 7th call. Oh, yeah, okay, I see what you mean. No. Um, if you're group number 7, you do the 7th case. Yes, and you do the, yeah, yeah, I got you that. Yeah, the 7th row. So only number 7, the 4 criteria. Amy, can you welcome Amy to see if any more questions coming down here? Ben, do you have your package? Because it's in the second half of the package. Okay, Ben, let's see if Ben's responding. Okay, I'll come back to Ben. James, sir, for the third criteria, what if the good effect is caused by both the action and the evil effect? Example, abortion. Um, the evil effect is that you kill someone. The good effect is that you preserve their mental health, but that comes from both the action. Okay, you're going to have to make a decision, James. I like your reasoning and your logic here. But you have to make a decision. First of all, what is the action? What does the word abort mean? I'll give you a hint. It means to stop. You're aborting the pregnancy. So that's the action. What's the good effect of the abortion? What's the bad effect? Do you want the bad effect to happen? Or do you want the good effect to happen? Is the bad effect giving you a good result? Or is the good result or good effect causing the bad things? You're going to have to try to figure this out and work on it. We'll see what happens in our discussion tomorrow. So I think excellent questions. Keep working your way through it. Try to see what it is, but start with the action first. The word abortion means to abort. It's sort of like the astronauts are going to space, and they're counting down 10, 9, 8, 7, 4, 2, abort, 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 stop the launch. Something's wrong. So abortion means stop. So in abortion, we mean stopping the pregnancy. Okay, and go from there. Hopefully that'll guide you, but we'll talk more. Okay, Louisa, 2 of causa. Now, okay, so you're okay now? Okay, that's good. Michelle, Evelina, Celine, Andrew, I'll share the chart. Okay, so you guys are talking about yourselves. Good, so you identify who your partners are. And that all the groups are random. I just number 1 to 9, 1 to 9, 1 to 9, then 1 to 5. Okay. So you guys decide amongst yourself. You can work on it now. We have 25 minutes. So just get your chart in. Fill your chart out, please. So once you figure it out, make sure your chart's done. And then you can do the rest of the chart if you want, or just wait for tomorrow, and I'll give you lots of time to work on the rest of the chart tomorrow. And then send it to me at the end of the class, okay? So you guys are already working. Thank you. And say you're working with Mark and Edson, good? Yes, absolutely, Amy. I just want to introduce a topic. I want you to have your chart done, because I promised you no homework, right? And then tomorrow we're going to present. I'm going to give you a PowerPoint presentation on principal double effect, just to get the ideas in our mind, focus our attention on the 4 criteria, and then each of you will spend 2 or 3 minutes presenting, and then it may be fine, which means we move on to the next person. Or if we have some controversy or some problems or some questions, we may be going back and forth and discussing it back and forth, and we'll allow others to also contribute their opinions as well. So we'll have you presenting the class, the rest of us, myself included, will be the students, and then we'll ask you questions if we need clarification, and you'll provide answers for us so that we become enlightened. Okay. Kevin, you working with your group? Good. Not too sure, kind of unorganized. Ben, okay, you should have got a binder and put them all in. You do what I do, just scatter things all over the place. So you're a true philosopher, Ben. But now you got to find out where everything unorganized is. So it's called Principal Double Fact. There's a chart, and then the second one has 9 cases. And I also gave you some notes to read on Principal Double Effect, trying to explain it in more detail, but I'm going to do that in an easier way with a PowerPoint presentation. Okay. Okay, you guys are communicating. Um, can you repeat my group, Ben? Okay, let me take a look. Give me a second. I'm gonna just minimize this second. Then I'm gonna present my attachment. It's on the email I sent to you. But there we go. So these are your, this is my Google Meet class attendance list. And so group number 1 is Andrew, and then Evelina, and then we go to, what happened here? Oh, Michelle, and then Celine. Okay. So Ben, let's see where you are. So you're Ben, the other B is here. So you're group number 5, Ben, and you're with Helia and Nolan and Simon. Okay, so keep yourself for 2 seconds. So if you haven't been able to open it up, so I just numbered it 1 to 9, 1 to 9, and then we have 5 groups with an extra student. Okay, so we have Azine. I'll come back to you, Azine, in a second. Say however you want to do it. I would prefer that everybody gets a chance to do it. So one person could read the story from the assignment. One person could deal with the action. Another person can deal with the evil effect, then the good effect, and then the balance between the good effect and the evil effect. It'd be nice if everybody tries it. I know some people will be shy, um, but you're amongst friends. So Zine, Nathan says you're with Jade and Louisa. Okay. And so that's okay. Yeah, I missed it too. Okay. I'll do it again for everyone who wants to take a look. Okay. So there's more here. So it got truncated in 2 sections. And there's the people who are left out at the bottom there. Okay. That's good. So, time remaining, please work quietly on your section of